So people are going to want to know, have you ever played D&D?
Yeah.
Are you actually any good at it?
No. Lost horribly. Died in the first 10 minutes. Shouldn't have opened that door, man. Gary Gygax was one half of the team that resulted in the creation of Dungeons & Dragons. A sentence that probably conjures up a very specific image in your head of what Gygax was like. Be prepared, though, to throw that image out of the window and spike it to the curb, because Gygax was actually a total pimp in the 1980s.
Can we also appreciate how his surname, Gygax, sounds like one of his characters?
Yeah, it's fucking mental,
It's a
isn't it?
fucking amazing
What
name.
a great nickname that is. Gary fucking Guy as well. It's like a superhero name almost, isn't it? 'Cause it's like he's got the alliteration, the
Yeah,
GG.
and also, I was going to say his initials are GG.
Yeah. Man, he would absolutely cane it in the online era, wouldn't he? Like GG. Like GG Gygax. Like, yeah. He's like George R.R. Martin, isn't it?
Yeah. You can see him on like the voice clubs going, good Gygax!
Yeah, he probably would do. Because you're probably not familiar with this story, are you?
Not in any way.
There we go, let's talk about it.
So tell me when this tale of pimpness begins.
It begins in the 1980s when Gygax was ousted from his company's TSR Inc. under the pretense of going to Hollywood and seeking out, someone who can make a Dungeons & Dragons movie. However, behind the scenes, the real reason he was, forced out of the company and told to, fuck off to Hollywood was because of his hard partying lifestyle, which involved taking drugs, drinking hard liquor at all times of the day, a kindred spirit, and sleeping with random women while married. But I need to point out, yes, we are still talking about the same guy who invented Dungeons & Dragons, a man who looks like an amalgamation of every uncle in the world.
So was Gygax always like this?
Actually, no. He was a fairly laid-back dude who was in a happy, committed relationship, and he just so happened to have an unhealthy obsession with wargaming, to such an extent that his wife once thought he was having an affair and burst into a room expecting to find him with a woman. It turned out he was huddled around a table with a few friends playing war games, which is exactly what you'd expect the inventor of Dungeons & Dragons to be caught doing at some point in his life. But after Dungeons & Dragons became a worldwide phenomenon and he became a millionaire, he's like, you know what? Fuck this. And just started taking drugs, drinking during the day, and sleeping with everything that moved. I should also point out as well that while he was doing this, he was still technically a Jehovah's Witness. Something that, understandably made the members of his church a bit uneasy, especially considering that in the 1980s, Dungeons & Dragons was in the news quite a lot. And do you remember what for, Brad?
Was this something to do with Satan?
Yeah, a lot of people thought it, promoted, it had either satanic imagery in it or promoted that idea. So, just to be clear, while Gary Gygax was, attending church, he was doing so while drinking, fucking, smoking, and simultaneously profiting from a game that some members of his church actually believed enhanced the devil's own powers. How fucking metal is that? We sound like we're talking about Lemmy, not the guy who invented Dungeons and fucking Dragons. I cannot understate how much of a square this guy was up until he got infinite money.
So I'm going to guess that his wife was not very happy with this.
Of course she wasn't, no, and the two divorced around 1983, which coincided with when Gygax was ousted from his company and decided to move to Hollywood. But now, obviously, with nothing holding him back, no wife, no company to tell him what to do, what do you think Gygax did with his millions of Dungeons & Dragons dollars?
Did he party more?
Oh yeah, not just party more, he partied all of it. He did all the party. He became Party Wolf from Adventure Time. He rented a ginormous fucking mansion overlooking Hollywood and just held giant cocaine-fueled orgies and all-day parties in it with supermodels while also playing Dungeons and Dragons. None of this is hyperbole. This guy, wherever you put the picture of him, was out there in the 1980s, doing lines and shagging nines and didn't give a fuck about it. Holy fuck. So as well, you can't, we shouldn't, idolise or, romanticise that lifestyle, but if we were talking about a rock star, so of course that's what a rock star was doing. Of course that was Lemmy, that's what he was doing in the 1980s. Of course it was the Rolling Stones with David Bowie, any of those people. But when you say the creator of Dungeons and Dragons, no, you're lying. No. The creator of Dungeons and Dragons partied harder than most rock stars did. And he looked like everyone's fucking dad. It's ridiculous.
I'm just imagining them doing dungeons with topless babes around all coked
They were,
up.
yeah. They just hang around his house.
And then one of the guys oh, my character's gonna have sex with her character. Just go on then.
No, they literally would just hang around his house. They just play Dungeons and Dragons and then just go out and shag him. and then it's like drink, and then do some drugs, and then he'd like go to like, you know, the occasional meeting saying, like, do you want to make a Dungeons and Dragons movie? And they'd be like, no thanks. Yeah, okay then. I'll just take my money out, go back home, and just like, you know, shag some more supermodels. Because oh yeah, the women he was shagging, they were all supermodels. So of course they fucking were. But anyway, he looked like this. That's what money does, folks. The ultimate aphrodisiac.
So is there any more to this story? It sounds like he did an awful lot in that short space of time.
Yeah, I'm presuming you missed the word like women. Like did an awful lot of women during this short space of time, because in addition to that, obviously he played Dungeons and Dragons, he hobnobbed with celebrities like Orson fucking Welles, who turn up to these parties, and then when he was bored, he cruised around LA in a Cadillac being driven by whatever supermodel he happened to be dating at the time, because, and this is fucking true, he never learnt to drive. So he'd get the supermodels to drive him wherever he wanted to go. So he wanted to go to McDonald's, he'd get a supermodel to drive him to McDonald's in a Cadillac, get it, and then drive back home and sleep with said supermodel.
God, it sounds like he was just rolling natural 20s for like 3 or 4 years straight.
Oh, he fucking was, wasn't he? Like, I'm just imagining now, though, like, to apply D&D rules to life, in specific, like, you know, the life he was leading at the moment, what would be, like, you know, a critical fail, like a 1, like, during sex? Like, that's what he was doing every day. Like, I'm just imagining that, you just, like, your dick just falls off.
No,
like,
you'd snap your dick in half on the perineum, wouldn't you?
Oh, God. Imagine, like, what... Folks at home, like in the comment section below, what would be a critical fail during sex? Because I think it'd be like doing a postman and delivering in the wrong box. Because that would immediately end the mood.
Then you do a recovery roll a natural 20, and she's like, I like that.
That's not bad. You didn't ask first, but you know what? It is your birthday, is it? Oh, fuck, it is. So that's what he went. He's got like Domino's power in it. It's like rolling natural 20s all the time. It's like, oh yeah, I turned up in Hollywood. I've been divorced. My company's ousted me. Oh no, wait, I'm a millionaire. Fuck it, I'm going to go hang out with Orson Welles and bang supermodels all the time. And then play Dungeons and Dragons with my mates.
As cool as the rock and roll lifestyle sounds, I imagine it'd be getting like kind of lonely after a while.
Not for Gary Gygax though, because as I mentioned, he was playing Dungeons and Dragons every other day with his best mate. It's like, you know, a pastime he absolutely adored. But one thing I should point out is that, you know, his friends weren't exactly as big a hit with the ladies as Gary Gygax was. They didn't have the millions of dollars. And Gary Gygax, being like, you know, a true bro, could not abide that. And there's a story that one of his friends said to him, like, oh, what's it like sleeping with a supermodel? And he turned to him and went, why don't you find out? Like, you know, the girl I'm currently seeing, she's got some friends down, like, you know, the Miss Beverly Hills International Beauty Pageant. And she says he got a friend called Miss Finland. Do you want to bang her? And he got his girlfriend, a supermodel, to drive him to that beauty pageant to get his friend laid by Miss Finland. So yeah, the next time you think about dismissing Dungeons and Dragons as a game for nerds, remember that the co-creator of the game once spent several years being driven to parties to sleep with supermodels by supermodels he was already sleeping with. Fuck yeah. That man is my hero. Yes, just playing games and drinking all day.
I mean, if you've played D&D, you must have read some of the stories that come out of D&D.
There's so much bullshit you can do in Dungeons and Dragons. If people out there are not familiar with what we're talking about, just go Google, like, you know, D&D stories about things going wrong or things going right, because the game mechanics can be abused in so many hilarious ways, like many of which we've already discussed. That will then be edited into this bit later. Right, you know, to pull back that curtain, because I've already drunk too much rum to, like, you know, continue talking about it for too much longer.
Yeah, the bit that you're about to see was like 10 minutes ago, and we just went on a 10-minute
As evidenced by the fact my face is now redder in this bit than it will be in the bit after this. But you've got to drink for Gary Gygax, man. Like, how much of a fucking party animal does this guy sound? Like, it does. Like, if I would have told this entire story and not mentioned what the guy did, you'd have seen, like, what was he, like, film star? Like, was he a musician? It's like, no, he invented Dungeons and Dragons. It just doesn't sound right, does it? And I'm glad that there's someone out there bucking that fucking stereotype for nerds. There's a guy out there getting mad laid for all the nerds. Like, rip in peace, Gary Gygax.
The celebrities who all like, it's always considered to be like, oh, how can this person be playing this game? Like, because Vin Diesel's the famous one.
Yeah.
He really enjoys D&D, and everyone's like, oh,
he wrote the foreword for one of the the guides.
Yeah.
He really fucking loves it.
But everyone's like, Vin Diesel, this action star, how can he play? So I don't understand what you basically, the way I always describe it to people when they say what's role playing, what's tabletop role playing, I say it's basically it's like reading a book, but you're playing the characters.
Yeah. Do you know those Goosebumps books where, like, you play the characters? Them.
I used to love those.
They were so fucking good. R.L. Stein, what a hero.
Would you always, like, what I used to do is I used to put my finger in
my finger. I'm not dying. Good end.
But I always get really annoyed when there was like a 3 option. I was like, I can't put all my fingers.
the earliest form. Like, it's save scumming in real life. Real life save scumming. Oh, I don't read it, remove my memory. No, I actually survived. It's great.
I love the idea of I love in role plays when crit fails are like super bad.
Oh yeah.
I love the idea of that in life.
I've seen like a lot of the memes about it of like or you reach out to touch the orc's back, you roll a critical fail, you caress it gently, the orc likes it and stuff like that. Or like you get the critical, like you roll the natural 20 for like the perception check as the tree. It's like, has that tree always been here? I roll a natural 20. It's like, yes, I have. Well, the tree would know better than us.
There's the famous one of Sir Barrington as well.
Tell the story of Sir Barrington for the people at home.
I don't know, do you know the full story?
Yes.
I only know the gist of it. So do you want to? All I remember is obviously there's a guy who decided to play a bear, and was his charisma or his bluff?
Yeah, I don't fully understand like D&D terminology, but my interpretation of it is a guy was playing Dungeons and Dragons and played as a bear, but he put all his stats into like bluffing and charisma, and convinced everyone that he was like a human called Sir Barrington, and all of his the dungeon master hated it, but all of his mates like, no, this is fucking brilliant, Sir Barrington all the way. And the story ends with the guy going like the first time that someone managed to like get past his bluff check or his bluff roll, and the guy's like, wait, you're a bear. But then he rolls a natural 20 on the bluff and it's like, no, I am. And the guy gets taken away in chase. And like
For being insane.
And the king apologizes to Sir Barrington, who just growls, thanks.
If anyone's got free time, I would recommend Googling like awesome D&D stories because some of them are amazing.
Well, it's like the peasant railgun, isn't it? Have you ever heard about that?
No.
Right, so I don't fully, again, the mechanics of it, but the idea is that I think passing an object is something you can do without taking up a turn.
Yeah.
So if you get a long enough, line of peasants and then pass them like a broom handle, because it requires only one turn, if you get a long enough line of them, they'll pass it all the way to the end. And by the time it reaches the end of the line of peasants, because obviously it gets exponentially quicker the amount of time, because obviously if you've got 1,000 peasants, you have to pass it 1,000 times in one turn. Like the end of the turn, like the broom handle is travelling at the speed of light and can one-hit kill any enemy in the game. And it's called like the peasant railgun.
The one I always remember existed in the. It was a Game of Thrones adaptation of the original D20 D&D.
Yes.
But it might be in D&D. It's called Greater Cleave. And what it is if you hit a successful roll on a cleave, you can then automatically get a free attack against an adjacent enemy.
Yes.
And it continues. So the idea is if you lined up everybody in the country in one line...
You could do it.
Yeah, if you always kept rolling hits, you would be able to kill everybody in 6 seconds. You could just murder the entire world in 6 seconds.
You just do an Anakin and just like, just Jedi force your way through. One that I've heard, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe in the very earliest games of D&D, mages were super overpowered because they could cast a duplication spell, and then the duplicate of the mage could cast a duplication spell again. So basically you could just infinitely duplicate yourself and just one hit kill anything, because you all attack with a basic spell that does exponentially more damage based on how many duplicates you've got.
Yeah, because I imagine, considering that a lot of stuff comes from, is based on the way D&D works, I imagine you have mana.
Yeah, the thing is, I love all that shit though, the exploitation of game mechanics. I don't know what game it is, but have you ever heard about the guy, I think it was an MMO, an MMO, and the guy ruined it with slimes. I don't know which one it is, you can look it up and you can put below which game it was, but it was in this game, slimes could, any object could stack infinitely on one stack, and slimes, when you took less damage that would kill them, would multiply. So one guy put a slime in his house and then kept throwing a mana bomb onto it, which did 1 damage, and they could multiply, and then did it over and over and over and over and over and over, until basically there were a billion slimes in his house, and opened the door, and it crashed the entire fucking world.
I think the most famous one of that was the boss in World of Warcraft, where they put an ability on him, which would be...
the Blood Scourge.
Yeah, it was like a poison that would kill you if you don't get healed.
Yeah, I've wrote an article for today I found out about, which it was the plague that nearly wiped out World of Warcraft.
So if you de-summon the pet and then re-summon it in a public area, it still has the
it becomes a plague bomb.
Yeah.
And people would die, and it became a actual thing bioterrorism experts have studied, because the reaction of people in the world mirrors real-life parallels, because healers would going into the quarantine zone to heal people, and low-level players would stand outside warning people not to go in, whereas high-level players who could take the damage would go in to explore to see what was going on. And that's all well and good, but go watch the video I did about, go watch the video I wrote, narrated by Sam Whistle on that if you're more interested. But what I like is, you ever heard of the thing in Asheron's Call, where in that game, enemies could level up, and the final, boss of the world was his crystal. And what it was is when you defeated that crystal, the next stage of the game would start, and a bunch of high level players think, you know what? I don't want this game to end. So these high-level players committed suicide on the crystal to level it up, and they ended up calling it Harry. And what they did is they committed suicide on Harry over and over and over again until it became so powerful that it was apparently able to resist command-level inputs to like power down. And what mods in the game did is they went into the world itself as like ultra high-level powered heroes with like mythical equipment and got their arse stomped by Harry because one of their own members had betrayed them and joined to become a disciple of Harry. I love all shit like that in video games.
Oh, it's great. What's the one that's I don't know which MMO it was, but it's about the Bard. The famous one of the Bard. What it was higher level players kept killing lower level players.
I don't know. Yeah, I know it's because bards could run faster than anything else, and you get sand giants to chase them.
Yeah, what they did was they put in a rule where if you're below level 5, you can't be hurt by a higher level player. So what the Bard did was he dragged one of the bosses across the entire map to the capital city and unleashed it amongst the high level players as a punishment.
There's loads of them, isn't there?
Oh, they're great. What's the EVE Online one?
The EVE Online, there's so many.
Yeah,
it might be the
heist.
heist.
I'm thinking of.
Yeah, the guy who went into EVE Online and rather than play the game properly, went in as a bank. And then one day just took all the money and told everyone to go and fuck themselves. And I think the end of the story is even better because he bought the biggest ship in the entire game and then used the rest of the money to put a bounty on his own head. Video games are so dumb and I love them.